It's been 2 years since Krampus hit theaters, and with the holiday season literally kicking off tomorrow, we thought, what better way to usher that in than to bring the man that brought Krampus to life on the big screen? That's right. I have Emersen Ziffle in studio for an exclusive F-word interview, where we talk all things Emersen. He talks about his humble beginnings on working on Exploding Heads for Friends to finally getting to meet his idol, Richard Taylor, and working with the Weta Group on Krampus, and everything in between, plus a little tidbits of things to come in the future. This is an all Emersen, all exclusive. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee, and grab your scotch, just like we did, and enjoy the show. Right here on the F-word.
Yeah, sweet.
As promised, Emersen Ziffle.
Hello.
Thanks for coming, man. This is super exciting.
I appreciate it.
How's your day been going?
It's busy, man. We're promoting WolfCop 2, another WolfCop, and it's in theaters this Friday, so I've been busy just promoting the shit out of that.
Nice.
Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Do whatever you want. I'm going to make sure that there are mics up so you can grab us, because you are taller than me.
Cool.
We've got our coffee. We've got our scotch. You've been doing press junkets all day. All the local news outlets that can get their hands on another WolfCop. Now, the original one came out when?
Shit, I don't know. 2014, I think.
Around there, right?
Yeah.
This was before Krampus.
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely before, yeah.
I mean, we entered the contest that got WolfCop made probably 2013, and then a year passed, I think, and then I showed the guy who I worked for WolfCop, so I think a year. Sorry, the timelines are really fuzzy.
Hey, man, it's all good.
It's all a blur when you're working on film. I have no idea what year this is right now.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, we're doing this because November 30th, which is today, will be 2 years since Krampus came out.
Yes.
The official box office release of Krampus. Aside from that, was there another big movie that you worked on in Hollywood that most people know? Because WolfCop is more of an indie, I would say, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you had Krampus as a huge Hollywood movie. Yep. And then anything before that led you to Krampus?
I mean, my biggest stepping stone would have been WolfCop.
Yep.
Because that, I can tell you about how it literally gave me the job to work on Krampus.
Oh, nice.
But as far as other Hollywood movies that are well known, I did some work on the most recent Power Rangers movie.
Nice.
Got to work on that.
Yeah.
And not the most recent one, but Curse of Chucky, which was the second most recent film. Worked on that in Winnipeg. And then the rest of them are just like B movies that you may or may not have ever heard of. But I've had a lot of fun working on them and learned a lot doing them. So,
do you have more freedom in the indie side of things than you did in the Hollywood system, or was there more of a demand on the Hollywood system versus the indie where you are allowed just more artistic freedom?
I mean, with Krampus, they literally had a book that Michael Dougherty and his creative team put together. And it was a bound book of all the concept art, all the design work. And they brought it to Weta and they were like, build this for me. And then they said, and I said, yeah, let's go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we had to fabricate puppets and do design work, and working with the incredible team there, we pulled it off. But they were very adamant. Michael, the director of that film, was extremely specific, and he would come and inspect the work on a daily basis. It was like his favorite place to be. He'd come and just sort of watch us work, and he would call us on stuff. Part of my job was to make sure that all the different departments were adhering to what we were supposed to be doing. Yeah. And he would come in and be like, hey, you guys, I told you that scarf was supposed to have 4 stripes, not 3. And you're just like, oh, wow, okay. He remembered that, and why didn't we write that down? You know what I mean? He definitely said that, he was that specific and keen on detail. But there were some things where he said, I really appreciate the way you guys have gone with this, because, he would show us designs of the front of something, for example, and you'd never see the back of that as a design. So, the team there would have to come up with something. But then you go towards like WolfCop or other indie films where a director just goes, can you make a werewolf? And I go, yeah, but I think I can. Here I go. And you make it, and it's just like freedom. And, you know, Lowell, the guy who directed WolfCop, will say, change this or that, but by and large, he's like, that's amazing. We have a werewolf, and you can do that here. You're local, sweet. Let's, you know, that's great. So, you know, for the second one, it was a bit more specific because we had sort of a lower and a standard that we had to live up to.
Sure.
Plus improve, you know, because we had more time to do it. But yeah, I mean, it all depends. I love working for directors who are very specific. Yeah. I love being that guy who can adapt and change and make sure their vision is brought to life properly. Yeah. But at the same time, I really enjoy taking someone's idea and just rolling with it and seeing what I come up with. You know, it's a lot of fun both ways. So. And on Power Rangers, what was your position there, and what were you able to work on? Specifically with it. So with Power Rangers, I worked for Lindala Schminken FX, which was in Vancouver. Okay. And they worked on like the X-Files, and they've done a lot of big, huge films. They just did the Death Note movie for Netflix. They built the suit for that, which was, you know, modified with CG and stuff. Anyways, they're amazing people, and I got to go there and run and work on the appliances for Rita, her makeup that she did. Okay. So they designed. Thanks. Yeah, man. She awesome. I didn't get to meet her, but I can say that I ran most of the appliances that she's wearing, which means that I was in charge of, you know, filling the molds with silicone and all that process, pulling them out, cleaning them up, and prepping them, doing some other work on them. Yeah. As well as there was a mummy that you see for a moment. It was a fully animatronic mummy. I worked with a guy named Vinny Yoshida, and he did animatronics, and I worked with him to build a bunch of controllers and all sorts of stuff so that I could sort of reach and do these weird things. And, you know, so that's what I worked on. And I was there with a team of, I think there's about 11 other people. Yeah. So I was just a small cog in the machine, but it was about 3 months worth of work. And, you know, it's just little moments on film. And interestingly enough, Weta, they built the Power Rangers suits for that. So I got to see like the people who worked on that again. We went for coffee and drinks, and Luke Hawker, the guy who actually plays Krampus, was the lead on that team because he's also a mold maker and stuff like that. And worked on Lord of the Rings and all sorts of stuff, and got to shoot the shit with him when he was out there and, you know, reconnect. So how did it all start then? I mean, I know I've known you for, quite a bit. I mean, you are older than me. I graduated with your brother, and but I remember back then you were kind of a legend within your school. This is legit. You were a legend within your school for the work that you were doing. And did it just start there? Was it before high school? Was it really broke out after high school? As far as working in film, it would have been after high school. Like, I did a lot of weird, goofy filmmaking things. Sort of grade 11 and 12. There was a teacher there in high school named Mr. Moffenbar who used to, like, I wasn't even in this like computer science class, but he let me use his camera and editing equipment. When I discovered nonlinear editing, you know, I was like, you could just take clips and stick them all together and do stuff with them, you know, because I used to record movies on my high 8 camera, and it would just be record, stop, rewind, restart, you know, like, people who are editing today have it so good. And so, you know, that got me, you know, I've always loved movie magic, and I've always been inspired by that, and I've always done art. But then something right after high school happened where I was making goofy films, and then I was, you know, working with people like my buddy Alden and Adrian, who were extremely creative sort of creative types. And then we met actors and other people making stories and doing indie film work. And then I tied in with Lowell, the guy who did WolfCop, through university, and did a zombie movie for him. And, you know, at the time I was just doing favors because I wanted to be around people working in film, and I sort of became known as the guy who made fake heads and body parts and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then one day, somebody that I had worked with, his friend was working on a movie called Surveillance with Jennifer Lynch, and he was like, I don't know this guy Emersen, he could build this exploding head. And he approached me, and I was like, sure, I can do that. I had no idea. So I ordered silicone and mold releases and all this stuff, and stayed up all night building this exploding head, and it worked wonderfully. You know, I worked with a guy named Paul Noel, who's a special effects guy, who sort of like took me under his wing and was like, you know, this is how this could be done for you. Like, he never pressured me in anything. He was like, let's try this, let's try that. And, you know, this guy's worked on huge Hollywood movies, and was just like, yeah, come on, man, let's go play. Let's, you know, he provided like the motivation for the explosion. So I built this silicone head, and he put this giant air cannon into it and blew it. Like, the whole thing exploded. It was great. And after that, I just became known as the guy in town who did this kind of stuff. So in quick succession, I did a bunch of B movies that had tons of effects in them. So I worked for like 3 or 4 years straight, just making like nonstop stuff. Like, and it was just gangbusters. So it was just like crazy busy, and I couldn't like keep up with it. Like, you know, I could, but it was insane.
It's a lot for 3 years, especially like go. And I mean, these indies have a shorter budget, and I imagine a shorter timeline because of that budget. So you're under time constraint, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And like really bullshitting my way through it. You know, I learned so much. There were so many times where I really should have failed, but I was confident, and I was like, no, we'll sort it out. And I was just like, I'd walk out of a room going, oh my God, I can't believe we just got through that. Like, how did we do that? Like, how did that, you know, I had extremely good family support, and everyone I was working with was amazing, but it was just like, if one thing was wrong, I could have been fired so many times. You know what I mean? Because I just didn't know really what I was doing until I tested it. Now, like, you know, 10 years later, I can, like, you know, confidently say, do this, do that. Maybe let's be more safe about this. Like, I'm a huge advocate for safety in film, and I really got there because I'm a cautious person to begin with, but you know, seeing lots of stuff happen and seeing where, had this not gone right, people could have really seriously been hurt. Not at my behest, but like just sort of
just in general.
Yeah, you know, because there's a lot of people who make indie films, and they, you know, stunts and stuff, and you can get seriously injured. And I mean, that's a hot button item right now. It's going around on, you know, social media all the time, and it is just a movie. You know what I mean? So it's not worth your life. You know what I mean? Or the future, your health. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of people I work with work in very toxic environments, spraying chemicals and working with things. And as a makeup effects artist, I'm chronically exposed to that stuff. So
all the time.
So it's very, you have to be very aware of that so that you can, you know, keep making movies for years to come, and just, then people want to work with you. You know, you don't want to be a loose cannon who's just always taking risks and making cool stuff, but then, oh, we killed somebody, so whatever. You know, it's just like, oh, you can't do that. You know, it's just,
you can't kill people on set, guys. Yeah,
you can if you do what I do, but not for real. So it's just, it's anyways. I on a tangent there, but it is
not at all
like to talk about.
Well, and do you think now? It's a weird thing because a lot of people are calling out for more practical effects than the CGI, and the CGI has gotten out of hand. Doesn't look good anymore. And I know for the safety of it, because of insurances, they don't even have an actual gun on set. It's all CGI from the moment that you hear a click. So has that, I mean, I would imagine it's helped you because of that, or is Hollywood still ignoring the fact that people are calling out for more practical effects? Has it changed at all in, let's say, the 10 years that you've been doing?
It's interesting from like there's that adage that like Jurassic Park changed everything. Yeah. In my industry, people are like, when that came out, we were all just like, whoa, we'll never work in this industry again. Yeah. And then you see where film's gone, and there's classic examples of how bad CG can be. Mm-hmm. And it's just another tool, right? Sure. So, I mean, you can do my job really shitty. Yeah. And it's still a practical effect, and it's like, whoa, that's practical, and it looks really bad. CG is really only as good as like the user using it as a tool. Yeah. Same with makeup effects. So anybody could really do what I do to any level that they're able to do it. So, you know, David Fincher famously uses CG in an extremely subtle way, and I really admire that he's building environments and building a story very specifically and using CG as his like ultimate tool. Like he's so effective at that, and it's just like in Mindhunter, I was watching that recently, and I was like, how the hell? Like, they must have had this, like, the most epic transportation budget, because there were so many authentic 70s vehicles. Yeah. Like, there's one shot in it where they walk through a parking garage, and it's just, all you see is just, like, people going to cars and driving. And I'm like, how the hell did they coordinate this? And they're all brand new. And then my buddy Lowell's like, oh, he just does it all in CG, man. Oh. And I was like, it's so good. How is that really like...
And there's a lot of car scenes in that. It's not like it's just maybe one out of the entire series where there's maybe one or two scenes with cars. Yeah. They're constantly driving. Yeah. They're constantly... And one involved in an accident.
Exactly.
I mean, he's got them all over the place. And the funny thing for that one, when I first saw it, because I love that show, it was really good, and I'm a huge David Fincher guy.
Yeah.
But I almost forgot the time period that it was in.
Yeah.
Until I would see the cars.
Yeah.
Because of the way, just the way that he was shooting it as well. But then you'd see the cars, and you're just like, oh yeah, wait a minute, this is a period piece, obviously.
Totally.
Yeah, David Fincher is. See, and I like when directors use that for that specific reason, as opposed to supplementing their movie.
Yes.
I mean, you've got your complementers and your supplementers, and David Fincher is definitely a supplementer. Even, there's CG in Seven, which is a very small, quieter, movie. One of my top 10 favorites.
Yeah.
But when you find out which ones are CG, you're kind of blown away at how
for sure.
just simple it was. But without it, it would have changed the entire, landscape of, let's say, that scene or the movie in total.
Yeah, exactly.
So is he one of your, would he be one of your favorites?
I think he's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, I have very few favorites. Yeah. And I mean, the reason I brought him up was because I really wanted to say that, when you mesh practical and CG, like I love like what Game of Thrones did with their undead army, and just putting green patches on, subtle skin transitions, and then building a CG skeleton inside.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's definitely real because it's interacting with actors, but you can see through that guy. And it's just, that in my mind is like the ultimate, like doing that. And it takes technicians, and it's only as good as your abilities. And it's just time and effort. And, there's oversaturated battles with, 1,000 aliens fighting 1,000 things.
Yeah.
I just watched Valerian the other night, and the design is just amazing. Like Luc Besson's work is just, you're like, that's the world. That's Fifth Element world. It's there. Yeah. But then you're like, you see these crazy expansive shots where it's just whoosh, and you're like, but they just probably spent a year designing all that stuff, and you just want to watch it. You know what I mean? You just want to zoom in and see it, and I really appreciate it. It wasn't the best film, but the design in that film is crazy. Like everything looks so unique and so, like, it's not Star Wars, it's not Star Trek, it's weird future. It's a bit Avatar-y, with the people that are in it. They're just, but that's just because Avatar is such a strong, the big tall people that are sort of angelic and whatever.
Yeah.
But so anyways, as far as favorite directors, and early Spielberg was great. I was a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. I wasn't such a fan of The Hobbit. The Wachowskis are great. Like they did, like The Matrix, and the Sense8 is just incredible. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I haven't yet. It's on this list of stuff, and I know it's old, but I still, now that it's in a couple seasons, I can just binge seasons.
It's so great. It's like, it's really interesting to see what they've done career-wise, because like the Lord of the Rings series and The Matrix were the penultimate for me. Like, I had two dreams. One was to work for Weta Workshop, the guys who did Lord of the Rings. I got to do that, which was just, I get goosebumps just thinking about it, that I got to not only do that, but be in like a special features with my idol, Richard Taylor. Like just to be talking about a project with him behind the scenes, because that's what I grew up watching. Yeah. And then if I could ever work with Keanu Reeves or the Wachowskis someday, like, that would be my dream, because it's just to see and to learn about, like, when they released The Matrix Revisited, which was like, that came out right at the same time that the Lord of the Rings extended box sets came out. Yeah. And it's like, for a filmmaker to be able to just like watch tens and tens of hours of just the making of a film, that creative, it's like, it just made my brain explode. And like just seeing that process, and like the amount of effort that Keanu went in, just getting into that character, the training he did, and just the artistic stylings and the technology that they had to figure out to just make those films. It's like, well,
they were groundbreaking. That was the thing.
Totally.
Like that first Matrix was just groundbreaking. Everyone will remember it for till the end of time. The slow motion, the bullet time, all of that stuff. But speaking of Keanu, watching behind the scenes of even John Wick.
Oh yeah,
the amount of time and effort he put in before anything even started shooting. Yeah. Hours. I think he was on 2 times a day, 6 days a week, martial arts, gunfight, play, everything. The red circle scene, in the first one. Yep. He had it memorized. That's how much he practiced it to get himself to do it. Yeah. He had memorized all the choreography. And when you look at it, like, you're on different levels, you're shooting across a pane of glass, and you're in a club, and then you're on a balcony, then you have to fall down, and all that stuff. It just, that's crazy. That just, when I see those behind the scenes, not that it gives me anxiety, but I'm just like, I don't know how. Even the behind the scenes of Game of Thrones, when I was watching, they had the horde of the undead.
Yeah.
And all the people putting on the makeup and touching everything up, even in between scenes and everything. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when they talk about budget, think about how many people, not the extras. The extras are nothing in comparison to technicians that have to put this on them and people, you know, in your line of work that have to work with hundreds of individuals. Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Those behind the scenes where they had all those real horses. It wasn't.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't 2, 3, 4, 5 horses and then CG the rest of them. Mm-hmm. That's just mind blowing. That's just crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. It's an amazing industry, and it's, you know, a testament to what people ultimately want to see and how much they're willing to pay. Because you touched on budget there, and it's like, you know, when I do a movie like WolfCop, it's like me and, if I'm allowed, 2 or 3 other people on set, and then that's it. So like, we'll be on set. First of all, we got to get WolfCop there, so we have to get him ready. But then we have to coordinate with what's happening on set, which is often changing. Yeah, we're thinking, okay, he's going to rip this guy's head off first thing in the morning. Okay, let's prep for that. Then we get to set and they go, oh, well, that scene's not ready. Can we have him actually jumping out the window? I'm like, what? We haven't built for that. Okay, let's flip things. There's 3 of us here. What's back at the shop? What do we have on the bus? What do we, you know, and then you think of a Hollywood movie, like on Krampus, I had a team of, at any given time, like 11 people working for me on set. Yeah. And it was like, I had a radio and I'm just like, okay, guys, bring this up. And they're all Weta technicians who are like gods, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Just knowing exactly what to do. And I'm not discrediting the people I work with on indie films, but you're literally plugging in the perfect pieces. Yeah. And it was just like the craziest big luxury, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, today we're just going to shoot Krampus walking 10 steps, turning left, and reaching for a bell. Cool. That's all we got to do today? Yeah, that's cool. It's just as long as he doesn't fall over and he does his marks. Yeah. All right. You know, and I got 10 people to help me do that. Whereas on WolfCop, it's, okay, he has to run through this scene, jump over here, shoot these guys, then he has to be bloody, then you have to pull his makeup off, change his look, and then he's got to be Lou for half an hour, then he has to go back and be WolfCop. And it's just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Just different levels, but it's also fun. Both are great, you know what I mean?
Just different levels of stress, really.
Yeah.
You know, on the one where, like you were talking about, you're working with a more, like that, the director you were talking about, where he's just like, no one needs, you know, the 3 or 4. He's like, this is what we're doing. We've already planned for this. This is what we're doing today. Yeah. Whereas, you know, that indie is more, let's see what we can get done as much today as possible, because we only have X amount of days and we need to account for a reshoot, a redo, a this or that, anything like that. And again, you guys have to be on it. So in WolfCop, when the cop turns into the wolf, do you do the makeup on the artist once, twice, let's say 5 days in a row, he shoots all the WolfCop stuff and then he goes back? Or are we talking, you know how you see some movies where every morning the actor's in there 8 hours, 9 hours? I keep remembering Jim Carrey. He's one of my favorites in The Grinch. Right. And I've seen both the mask and the Grinch makeup being put on him in that time lapse, and it's just crazy to me. Oh yeah. But is that what it's like? So you get him in there, you do 4 or 5 hours, however long it takes to get the WolfCop, to turn him into WolfCop. Yeah. And then the next day is the same thing over again, or is it different on the indie than it would be on something else?
I mean, ultimately everything's money, and with makeup effects, you're always asked, especially if I'm in charge of it, let's say, how long is it going to take? Yeah. And I've been on shows where they're like, it just takes as long as it takes, man. Yeah. And I'm like, what? You can't say that. It's like, you can't say it. And they're like, no, just, it'll take as long as it takes. And they've got money to burn, and they just are waiting, and it's fine. And it's literally money to burn. It's like, you just Google how much it costs on the average Hollywood movie per hour. It's something like $20,000 is gone every hour. Jeez. And it's like, and that's not even a big budget movie. You know what I mean? On bigger movies, it's like $100,000 a day, which is crazy to think about. But doing WolfCop, I mean, on the first one, it was about 2.5 hours to do his makeup, because there was a lot of rudimentary processes that we had to, you were chasing our tails. It was like, oh good, we got one done. All right, let's see if it works. Okay, stick it on. It's not perfect. Whatever. Fuck it. You know, we got to get back to the shop and build another one. Yeah. And I was handling the hair every night, and there was no continuity. I was never looking at any photos because there was never any time to do it. Yeah. We had a master head that we made, and then I would reference, but when you're, you know, sleeping a half an hour a night, it's just like, it's just getting it on set is great. It's a miracle. Yeah. Whereas with the second one, we had it down to about an hour and a half because we had a facial lace hairpiece made, like this beautifully pro thing that we would stick the appliances down and then we would just lay the hair down like a fake mustache, kind of that went all the way around, and then you peel it off at the end of the night. And for continuity's sake, it's the exact same hair. You know what I mean? It's really hard to match hair if you're hand laying it quickly, and it changed everything as far as workflow. And this go round, I had Pam Warden, who's a very talented makeup effects artist, and she would apply his makeup if I couldn't do it, and we would do it together. And I think she did probably more than me applications of WolfCop for the filming, anyways, this go round. And it really changed our workflow and getting to focus on that so that we could, I guess, be more efficient on set. The first go round, it was like chasing your own tail. And the second go, it was just like this clear process that I could walk away from and go focus on other stuff. Yeah. Whereas on WolfCop, it was like the first one, I would be having producers over my shoulder going, "Are you done this thing yet?" And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And they're literally watching me in the trailer finishing a makeup that's due in like 20 minutes while WolfCop's on set. And I'm supposed to be there helping him. And I'm like, I can't. Is there not anybody else who can help? You know, because I didn't even have the wherewithal to think what the scheduling was. Like, it was insane. And I had a really bad back injury, and it was in retrospect, it was I do not regret it, but it was too much, too fast, not enough time. Because it was like, we won this contest to make the movie. I don't know if you know about that. Yep. And it was like, we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're going to make this thing. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be so great. Let's do it. Yeah. And then we sat on our butts for 6 months, waiting for it to happen. It's like, is this going to happen? Mm-hmm. And then we sort of got complacent in that. And then one day they're like, okay, you got 2 weeks to do it. Move. And we were just like, whoa, what's like...
Just 0 to 100.
Oh my God. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even have time to read, because you don't want to start a bunch of stuff and not get paid for it.
Yeah, of course.
As much as I'd love to. I don't even think I was making money at the time anyways, but it was just like, just craziness. Whereas the second WolfCop, we knew it was going to happen. Yeah. I'd just gotten back from New Zealand, and it was sort of like, I think March, and we were going to film. We knew we were going to film in the fall. So Lola and I just sat back and like casually designed some stuff and got through, what WolfCop was going to look like, some secondary characters I can't really talk about, but you'll see them on Friday if you check it out. And got to focus on it and really think about and line stuff up, because we knew it was going to happen. Right.
So we were more prepared. So much more prepared. Well, and even when you're talking about the steps from, having producers over your back and saying, is this ready? The process of getting WolfCop in there from the first one to the second one, like you said, you have the overlay there, and you can, instead of playing with hair and sleeping half an hour a night, just that evolution where it's just like, yeah, we can, this is no problem now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So WolfCop was before Krampus. Did a lot of that stuff help with Krampus, or was the team there just saying, leading you, but since you were in charge with Weta, were the two able to coincide together and work together? Like, in the sense of what you learned from WolfCop, the first one, into Krampus? Yeah. All that translated?
Oh, for sure. I mean, every film experience I've ever done has, in a very serendipitous way, allowed me to do the next film. Okay, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any key... Interestingly enough, actually, one very specific technical thing that I learned on WolfCop, which was the way that I applied his fur to the masks. Like, typically people would put a little bit of glue on the makeup, then cut some hair, stick it on, then a little bit more. And what I was doing was combing this hair, grabbing a nice tuft of it, sort of cutting it at this nice angle, and then I would just take 3M spray adhesive, and I would just go, and I basically blast that glue into all those hairs while it's still sort of frayed. Yeah. And while there's a little droplet of glue on every one of those little hairs, I would just touch it to the mask, and it would just like glue it there in a nice sort of open way, so it's not sort of knocked down.
Right. So it looks more natural. It's hair that's been out in the elements, has been moved by wind. It's been whatever,
rather than just a flat, like I have like beard,
And even the fake beards, when you watch fake mustaches or something. I was actually watching an episode of The Office the other day where they all had their fake mustaches. I'm picturing in my head just that top layer that looks flat.
Yeah, it's just literally been down. Yeah. And they probably wanted that. But
of course, for that one, But.
So when we were doing Krampus, it's not a huge thing that we had to do, but I had to put fake fur on his hooves. So we made these. There's a scene where Krampus walks around this car, like there's a girl underneath it. She's trying to be quiet, and there's a Jack in the Box that pops up. And I got to play that Krampus.
Nice.
I got hoisted in the air and I land, and then I basically slowly walk around. It's like the trailer shot.
I was going to say that was in the trailer. That was the main shot of Krampus in the trailer.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, I wish there was behind the scenes footage because I look ridiculous. Like I had the whole costume draped around me, like to my waist, and I was, we had a steam rig that came off the top of the car, and it was pumped through my arms so that every time it landed, there was a guy going, pfft, and steam was coming out. But those hooves, we made a fabric skin that sort of encased the mechanism. And I used that exact same technique to put that fur on it. Like, they were like, we don't have time to hand tie this. We don't want to use fake fur. But we want this patchy, whatever. I was like, I could probably just do this in like a night if you guys want to check this out in the morning. So I stayed up and did that. And they're like, that's great. How'd you do that? And I was like, just 3M. Oh, I did it. That's what I did on WolfCop. And they're like, whoa, that's crazy. And it was this really weird little moment. And I was like, I never would have thought of that. But I mean, other than that, there was tons of other, like, how to deal with people.
Sure.
Because I was the project manager at Weta for Krampus.
Yeah.
And then on set, I was the on-set supervisor. So there's 2 specific jobs I had when I was in New Zealand. And just the ability to deal with people and know that, there's a lot of different creativity, different style of people, different styles of working, and that they've got a very specific skill, whether it's indie film or the pros, at Weta. Yeah. And knowing how to navigate and say, I know what you do. Can you do this? I'll check back on you tomorrow. I'll help you work on this. As long as it's ready on Tuesday, we're all good.
Yeah.
And knowing how to manage and work with those people, and then build a relationship so that when you're on set, those same people are your technicians who are going, I built this. It's all good. We can sort it out. Can you give me a hand? That's a skill I've gradually learned. I feel I have a good rapport with people, and people get what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm also very abstract. I'll say to people, I'll be like, oh, can you give me a, and then and they're like, a what, sorry? And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I need it to, and they're like, please just speak my language for a moment. You know what I mean?
Speak English for 30 seconds and I'll be fine.
Yeah. Famously, actually, this isn't famous at all, but
it's famous now.
With Lowell, the director of WolfCop, I often edit with him, and he, values my input on editing because I've done a lot of that growing up, and I'm really, keen on fight scenes and explosions and temporal editing, and I'll often be sitting with him, and I'll be like, you really got to just have that come in and go, boof, like it's got to build. And he's like, what are you trying to say, man? And I'm just like it's got to go faster than ramp up. He's like, what do you mean ramp? And I'm like, well, if we were using the program I used to use, they'd ramp the effect so that it sped up with the acceleration. He's just like, just tell me if you want it to go in or out, and I'm just like, what? He's like, and then I think we did a bit of a seminar where I was like, okay, how do you describe this? And he's like, well, this is, you kind of take some off the top and then off the end. And I was like, oh, or the tail. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we gradually got this rapport where I was saying stuff, but stopping myself and be like, cut some off the tail of that clip, 5 frames. And he's like, I get what you're saying. I'm like,
instead of, can you just that whole thing over there?
Yeah. So I've got the wherewithal for most things, but at times I sort of have to slow down and go, okay, I'm working with people who've never worked with me before.
Yeah.
I may have to, give them a Cole's Notes of how I work, or just try to adapt to what they're used to, which is fine too. It's fun.
Whatever special, what you should do is you can actually have a little key of this sound effect means this. That'd be pretty cool. So zoom means to ramp it up. Right?
Exactly.
Something like that. And then be like, listen, before we start working, here's my pamphlet on how you can understand me. Klingon ended up having its own language and everything. I think you've got something here.
The thing is, it probably wouldn't be consistent at all. I'd be like, a year later, I'd be like, nobody uses that anymore. And they'd be like, what? I'm like, that's so outdated.
What are you trying to tell me? You literally told me this a year ago. This exact same, I wrote it down for you.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. And I mean, having that relationship with those people as opposed to, I have a culinary background.
Yeah.
So I've worked with different chefs, and the ones that are the screamers and the ones that are the kind of, your more supporters, and they'll be stern with you, but they'll make sure that you know what's going on.
Yes.
I imagine you had those moments where, and me having been an employee, I respond to both, but the guy that was there kind of there on the support side, I just wanted to do a really good job with him.
Right.
And for you, it probably was the same thing. So building that good rapport, it's like, you're on the floor, you're working the technicians, and they're on set ready because they don't want to let you down. So
exactly,
you're probably that's most likely the best way to do it, as opposed to the old way of just screaming and getting things done that way.
Yeah, it's never. I was listening to a podcast recently about how like nobody ever got anywhere by freaking out about something.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's probably some very specific examples where that does help.
Yeah.
But even in a crazy panic situation, being like the ability to be calm, and I've always been good at that, and just sort of stop and go, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
What, like, I've looked at screaming producers who are like, you have to get that fucking thing off the set and fix this. What the fuck did you do? Why did you do that? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd be like, I'm so sorry that this isn't working. What can I do to fix this for you?
Yeah.
And all they want to do is just punch a hole in your face. And all I want to do is just make their film for them.
Yeah.
And I get that they're
saying.
heated up and they're riled up and it's like this. And you just have to look at them and go, thanks, sir. May I have another? How can I fix this for you?
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why I still get work, because not saying that a bunch of people don't because they are the opposite, but it's like
it's tried and true thing where if you're the guy that's no matter what, you'll always get it done. That's the big thing, because if you were getting, let's say, reamed at, well, there was one guy we worked at, no matter who yelled at him or even the supportive guy or the guy that yelled, he still screwed up. No one was calling him for anything. Yeah. There was no references being put in his name. Yeah. So, you can get yelled at by one producer and kind of more supported by another, but you still deliver.
Yeah.
And that's probably even bigger than anything.
Yeah. And then it's interesting because those same people I became really good friends with because they were kind of like, I can't just yell at this guy. And when I did, he still did his work.
Yeah.
And it's like, and now it's like they have a rapport where they're like, I really need you to do this. You can do it, right? And it's like, yeah, man, for sure. And then there's those people who just, they feed off that and they go, fuck you, I'm out of here. It's like, yeah, but don't you need this job, to survive?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I guess I'll hire someone else. And it's like, that doesn't get you anywhere. You have to realize these people are on top for a reason. But, it's not nice that they're that way, but whatever. You know what I mean? It's the industry. It's stressful. It's a really stressful industry. And I'm like, it's not worth it, man. I'm calm. Cool. Yeah. We'll sort it out. It's just a film.
But that landscape's changing too. I mean, with everything going on with the big Weinstein and all of that stuff. Yeah. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of shifts, in the landscape of what's going on behind scenes and with people that are working with whoever. I mean, it's going to have to eventually, right? So guys like you that can do that and you're already adapt to it and are able to handle it, it's just going to be an easy transition. Yeah. And for those that, cowered and ran away, well, it'll be different. There's definitely be a lot of changes.
Yeah, and just letting yourself be heard. I mean, on Krampus, we were doing this big scene where I was dropping down. Yeah. And on frame, it's like a foot space. And all you see is this landing, right? And we had done these stunt rehearsals where I'm up on a harness and they dropped me from, 10 feet, which was interesting because I'm not a stunt guy, but I was puppeteering this thing or whatever. Yeah. And on the day, they hoisted me up and there's like 20 robo fans and which is just creating wind and a bunch of snow machines and this first AD who's like, all right, everybody, yeah, okay, good to go, Emersen, you ready? Yeah. And I'm just like, why am I 3 times the height that I was when we were rehearsing this? And there's no stunt mat below me and I'm getting dropped on the ground and I was like, no, just a second. Yeah. And everyone's like, yeah, what? Wait, yeah, you ready? I'm like, no, stop. And like, and I was like, we just gotta slow down and just think about what we're doing. And then, there was just some miscommunication. And I was like, you guys only see this much.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to fly from the ceiling to, maybe just lift my cloak,
Right. I can just be here and then land here. Yeah.
And it was no fault on anybody's part. It was just, a standard process to drop from this height for a shot of this. But it was like, you have to let your voice be heard because if you don't, there's nothing worse than going, fuck, I should have said something. You know what I mean? Because, and the same goes for if you see any abuse or any sort of like weird situation on set. Because film is a really weird creature where people get complacent to expect roles from people, to expect certain attitudes. And I've never really prescribed to that. I work in makeup, but I'm not a typical makeup person. And I work in special effects, and I would say I'm not typical. I always approach it just as a job and a task. And then I like to have fun and be cordial and nice to people. But it is interesting when you do see people on set who either abuse that or just really take advantage of the situation that they're around other people who expect not to say anything. You know what I mean?
Right. If you've got that power, then you can just walk around with total immunity and do whatever you want.
Yeah, and I've very rarely seen anything that... I mean, I have seen lots of situations where I was like, this is not a healthy thing to be a part of, and, probably should have spoke up, but it's just being, growing in this industry and being young, not really understanding that, but, what's right and what isn't appropriate. But I love that what's happening in the media, people are telling their story, people are listening to them, and people are, I guess, getting what's coming to them, which is great. I don't know if that really means much in this day and age where you can just buy your way out of anything, but it's
but it is.
It's so good that these people are getting brought to justice, whatever that means. So
a light is being shed on something that's been going on for decades.
Yeah,
there was that one story that came out I think 6 months ago about Marlon Brando and one of the movies that he was doing with the girl there, and it's harrowing to listen to they put this woman go through. Even The Exorcist behind the scenes.
Right.
That scene where she's flopping back and forth and he physically had the rope around her.
Yeah.
And the director's pulling her.
Yeah.
So in the movie, when she's screaming, please stop, that's Linda Blair screaming.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And that's not sexual. But that's straight up abuse for art's sake, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that landscape's changing, and it doesn't need to go to that length. Like you said, you don't need to go to those lengths to produce.
It's such a weird thing, though, because it's the weird thing that I find about like something like that, where you have people who go through what you could classify as an unhealthy act to play a film role.
Yeah.
Whether it be training 24 hours a day to do stunts where you get cut up and bruised and your body goes through torture, or, being put through a scene where you're physically crying because it's so stressful. It's a really weird line that you have to walk, and I think it's more about being transparent and honest with what you expect and what you think is going to happen, so that when you go on the set, on The Exorcist, they were like, they could have been like, this is what we plan to do to you.
Yeah.
And are you comfortable with this?
Yeah.
And just testing that out. I can't stress enough how important it is to rehearse things, especially action and stunts. And there's nothing more heartbreaking than when you see somebody get injured doing a stunt that they've practiced once. It's great when you work with people. Like, I've worked with lots of great stunt people who just are very thorough and they don't work unsafely. Like the guy who did WolfCop, Sean Skeen, he's so by the book and but very fun and very easy to work with. Yeah. But he never puts anybody in peril, and he always takes those steps to make sure things are done properly and to educate people. Having those safety meetings and just being like, hey, everybody stop. Yeah. We know that you have a job to do, but there's people that are risking their lives in front of the camera. This is what it's all about. You know what I mean?
Well, and let's be honest. Everything's all fine and good, like the old adage is, until someone gets hurt, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you can be a stunt guy or anybody that's having a lot of fun and everything's great, but that one situation will tarnish the entire thing. And so is it worth tarnishing the entire experience for one bonehead move? And if it was planned and something happened, I imagine it's something that's, provided it's not extreme, but it's something that's like, okay, we planned for this. It's taken care of. It's unfortunate that it happened.
Yeah.
But it's not like it was completely out of the wind. Everybody knew that they were getting into, someone rolled their ankle, someone landed the wrong way, whatever it is, as opposed to just, we're just going to do this on the fly and see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, now what?
Yeah. Especially on like WolfCop, when it's not like you can reshoot anything. We planned for 20 days. We were given 18.
Jeez.
And it's like, if you screw up a stunt, I think everybody just goes home and you edit whatever you can. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the only person who really got injured on that film was the director, who was stepping over a log and twisted it. And so this little pimp cane for half the show. It was hilarious. But anyways, just, be safe, make smart decisions, respect people. Like, everybody's there. Everybody's a part of the team. Nobody's more important than anybody else. I mean, on paper they are, in a way. It's weird. Everybody gets paid differently. But as a person, nobody's more important than anybody. And I love working with directors like Lowell, like a lot of people I've worked with who, at the end of the day, they're just another person that you can talk to on set. There's very interesting things that happen on set where I'm sure you've experienced this too, where you meet somebody who's just got this air about them where it's just like, are you from a different planet? Like, do you not see me and the fact that I have a family and that I've got a life here and that I'm respecting your space, and you, like, I get that you make millions of dollars, but you can have a conversation and just look at me. And, you know, it's like, but people understand that. I'm not saying anything new, but I love working with people who are honest and just, you know, give you the time of day, because that's how I've advanced in this career, is working with honest, good people. And I hope that someday I can do that for other people, much the same way that Richard Taylor at Weta Workshop was like, when I met him at Calgary Fan Expo, he wanted to see WolfCop. So we brought WolfCop over, and I got to show my idol something I created. And he's like, yeah, come talk to me for a bit. And like, we chatted for like 10 minutes, and he listened to everything I said. And I was like, you're like just talking to a friend. It's amazing, but you're like a god. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. And
your starstruck moment kind of thing.
Yeah. And because he had the wherewithal just to be a nice guy and listen to me and be like, here's my card, call me sometime. And I was like, right, that's never going to happen. You know? Oh my God. And it happened. Like, it's just because he was so understanding and nice, and hopefully someday I can do that for somebody where they're like, I really wanted to work with you. I heard about WolfCop, blah, blah, blah. And I go, come hang out, I guess, and work on this, and hopefully something happens. You know, I can't guarantee them a job or anything, but if I can shed some light on them that I never got to experience growing up, you know what I mean? Because I was the only guy doing what I do here, then great. Sorry, that went in a weird circle.
Oh, that's totally fine. Well, I mean,
I'm like a pinball. I just go beep, boop, bop, boop.
Have you seen, if you watch some of my reviews, I'm having a lot of trouble. Like, for me, it's like focusing. My buddy all the time, Ethan's just like, dude, you just got to focus a little bit more and you got this nailed. And I'm like, I know, but so many things are going on. But I mean, even going to that, I know you not only because I went to school with your brother and you remember from elementary school, and, you know, we have mutual friends and stuff, but I mean, I called you for a YouTube channel and you're like, yeah, totally. This sounds great and a lot of fun, right? Where, you know, and I'm like on the phone, like super nervous. I'm like, and if you want to check it out, like take a look at some of our videos. One's doing pretty good. Like 1 out of 70 videos are doing good, but you know, it's kind of changed. Like again, it's part of that changing the landscape for it. And so again, when someone who was in your position or who is in your position 10 years ago meets you, you have that same thing as Richard, like that same rapport, right? And you can bring up the next you. Yeah. Much like someone might have done for Richard way before.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. It's interesting because it's just, I think it's a very valuable thing to do that. And I mean, I always say, if I have the time, and you're a good person, I will help you out any way I can. Yeah. And if I'm not losing money, like I love to nurture creativity. Yeah. And like when you called me up, I didn't know anything about what you do. And I was like, sure, man, let's do it. You know what I mean? This could have been, this is your basement. No, just kidding.
No. Everybody knows this is my basement. Yeah, everybody knows.
It's just a bad joke. But it's, you know what I mean? And you got to give them the time of day because, there's something, magical about that experience because I'm just a guy, you know what I mean? And I work with people, and, I work with people now who I met years ago who are like, man, I couldn't believe I was going to work on WolfCop. Yeah. And then I worked on it and I was like, man, that was crazy. And this guy's so disorganized and it sounds fun, but I mean, it's pretty cool, but it's just a guy. I'm working with a guy. And I'm just like, I'm just a guy that you're working with, and I just happen to know how to do a bunch of crazy shit. So come join me on the ride, you know? And it's just, as long as you sort of support that creativity, you know, and nurture something great, you know, just go for it. And, I can beat that one to death. So anyways, you know.
So what's next for you after, so another WolfCop is coming out Friday.
Yep.
And again, what's next? What's next on the slate that you can talk about? I mean, I'm sure there's probably stuff that it's kind of hush hush, not confirmed yet, but
I can't really talk about much.
That's what I figured.
One thing I can talk about is the Atomic Victory Squad.
Okay.
So myself, Lowell Dean, and Joel Hustack, a local artist who famously, I can say this properly, did the illustrations from the cult book that's in WolfCop. There's like very beautiful wood cut illustrations that he did. He's an extremely talented artist, and he's the lead illustrator on, I'll try to say this in a nutshell, a comic idea that Lowell came up with in like high school, where every time we'd go out for coffee, he'd do these doodles based on these characters. And I was like, dude, these are like the goofiest thing. And we have stacks and stacks of little notepads and folders of Lowell drawing stuff when we went out for coffee. And I was like, man, I need like IP, my own thing I can work on where we're the boss and we're in charge of it. And I suggested to him, like, we got to make something. What can we do? And he designed some weird things. And I said, can I sculpt these? Can I make these? I want to make stuff we can sell, whatever, for the makers of WolfCop, whatever. So with the Atomic Victory Squad, the idea is to, I think, ultimately make an animated show.
Yeah.
But we're starting with a comic. So we're going to be doing an Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaign in the new year. We're halfway through illustrating the first issue, and we want to be able to sell that and sell the property. We've been to Calgary Fan Expo and sort of did a cold sort of like, it was a WolfCop / Atomic Victory Squad booth.
Yeah.
And we were like, here's Invincible, and he's basically Superman with udders, and he's a bull, and he's got a cape, and people like are immediately like,
oh, I get it, Invincible.
Yes,
I love it. I love
it's
it.
a very punny thing. Anyways, and he's part of the Atomic Victory Squad. There's Invincible. There's Bubble Myers. He's a space, a washed out like military guy who is fused with a spacesuit. And he's got a portal in his belly button that basically goes to an alternate dimension. So like in a pinch, the whole team can jump inside of him, and he can like, he's sort of elastic, so like he can save them, but it's a really horrible experience for them. So it's like a last ditch thing.
Yeah.
And he can also be like a gateway to other dimensions. And then there's She-Girl. She's a basically a sex robot that was reprogrammed by the Atomic Victory Squad. She was originally created by Professor Microchip, who, created her for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And, she's a bit of a...
To cuddle.
To liberate herself, she's basically fighting against that now. And she has a relationship with Invincible and Triangle Master, so it's a three-way.
With a triangle with a Triangle Master.
And so Triangle Master gets his powers from natural occurring triangles.
Okay.
So, but he's this weird case of not confidence and unsureness, and he, like if he was standing on a yield sign suddenly, like he couldn't make this yield sign, but if he suddenly stood on a yield sign, he could shoot little lasers out his fingers. But if he was on top of the pyramids, he could like destroy a city.
Okay, so he takes all of his power,
the power of triangles
from triangle. Wow.
So a three-way.
You call that a three-prong approach?
Yeah, a three-prong.
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
So like in a three, is that the right word to use? But a relationship where there's three people.
Yeah. Triforce.
Triforce. He would get some sort of energy there, and it obviously causes problems. But and then there's, I'm just going to describe them all to you.
That'd be amazing.
There's who's the one? Susanna. Okay. She's a weird creation of, like, she was an animal advocate. That it's sort of your classic toxic ooze situation where she melds with the abilities of a bunch of animals. But she can't quite control the state she's in. It's something she has to master. So she'll be, wanting to tiptoe like a mouse, and then all of a sudden she transforms into a hippo, and it's this like, what I mean? She's basically can do stuff, hopefully at the right moment. So she's very not well put together.
Yeah.
Literally. But hopefully she figures her way out. She's an amalgamation of a hippo, a cheetah, a eagle, a fish, and then one other thing I can't remember. Oh, a cat as well too.
The fish is probably the biggest wild card. I think if she could turn into a fish when she wants or not when she doesn't want, right? Like
I can't really answer that.
That's fair. Because that would be the worst thing. I mean, you go from actually something that can walk or fly, and then all of a sudden you're just flopping around, right?
Well, there's that classic question: is it all relative to the size of the original animal? So like, if you're a hippo that suddenly changes to a fish, are you a hippo-sized fish?
Right.
Or are you a hippo body that ends in the head of a cat? You know what I mean? And I think it's the comedic version of that. So, she's
a hippo-sized eagle would be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd
exactly.
Be crazy. That's a dragon, almost.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. And then there's, I think the last character is Gary the Mime. So he's from Trinidad. Lowell's from Trinidad. And he can... basically anything he mimes happens. So if he sneaks up on you and goes like this and then shoots you, you could die. Or if he stands there and he presses a button like he's on an elevator, he'll go through the floor and disappear. So his power is the penultimate he's my favorite character because he's so limitless. He could imagine there's an army. I guess. I don't know. There's got to be some limit to it.
Well, it could be the same adage with the other girl where it's could he summon an army if he's just one person?
Yeah, exactly.
Miming, or while she is relative to size, is he relative to just his body or what his hands can do?
Yeah,
like if he does a shadow puppet of an elephant, can that elephant shadow kind of attack somebody? Maybe.
So it's all something that we're currently developing. Like the first 3 issues have been written and storyboarded, and now we're just basically. They're illustrated by Joel, written by Lowell.
Okay.
I do the inking and coloring, and then we sort of all collectively package that and watch for the first issue early next year, or watch for us at Comic-Con. We made a collectible maquette of Invincible, And we'll be developing more property and just building hype about it because it's such a crazy, goofy world. That's a total different thing for Lowell to do.
Those are cool, though.
Yeah.
Those are real, like... Yeah, those are just when you were listening to them, and I'm trying to picture a triangle man and a hippo going into a fish relative to the size. And like in my head right now, I'm just like, that's just crazy. And if I could mime anything that could happen, that could just be a dangerous game altogether.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, and that's next year. Are we talking this time next year? Are we talking just like 2018?
We're very close, to having the first issue as something that we can basically, we want to unleash this on the world and be like, if you pay for this within months, you'll have the copy of it. Yeah. So we want to have enough material that we can say this is a legitimate thing. We know what we're doing. The world can tell we know what we're doing. And here's some other support material. Like we handed out a bunch of badges, limited edition badges that we did. And, people were loving it. And from the response we got, like, people were just like, yes, show me this. Like we just did one teaser splash page at the time. And they're like, I have to see this, Yeah, so there's that. And then developing stuff with Lowell. Him and I go for our daily coffee meeting where he says, I got the script, and I go, we should try this in it. And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. Okay. And then we reach out to producers and talk to people to, get stuff made. Lowell directed a movie called Supergrid that we filmed this summer, produced by Echolands. Our good friend Hugh Patterson, who also produced the 2 WolfCop movies, is a producer for that. It's his film, and also starring Leo Fafard and some of the other cast from WolfCop. It's a serious movie. It's sort of like a Mad Max Saskatchewan road movie.
Okay, cool.
With guys who are transporting, on a deadly mission on the Supergrid, which is the grid roads of Saskatchewan and North Dakota.
Yeah.
It's basically a plot of land that has been purchased and turned into this like no man's land. Like a foreign conglomerate's bought this land, and it's like this crazy industrial chunk where you have to like, if you get through it, you're good for you. Most people die kind of thing. And so we shot that. I got to do production design on that and build a bunch of custom props and miniatures and awesome sets and stuff. And watch for that next year. The trailer should be coming out right away.
That's cool, man. So for those of us not in town, where could we find another WolfCop, or even just the original if you haven't seen the original WolfCop? Like, where can you find this movie?
Pirate Bay has a great copy on it. Don't
do Pirate Bay. We talked about this.
I don't even know
about the Game of Thrones stuff.
The WolfCop I think you can buy online. You can get, I think it's on iTunes. It's on American Netflix.
Yep.
It never came to Canada for whatever reason.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
But
I think it will eventually. I mean,
hopefully,
fingers crossed.
When the second one comes out, maybe it's like a double thing.
Double feature, yeah.
And then, watch for another WolfCop. It's in theaters across Canada on the 1st and the 5th. Definitely. There's a list on the WolfCop Facebook page of all the theaters it's playing in. So check that out. In Saskatchewan, though, we have a limited run, meaning it's from like the 1st till whenever people stop going to see it.
Okay.
So we would love to promote the shit out of it and make sure that people go see it. And, because it's a passionate project that we made with Saskatchewan talent. It's a sequel, which is crazy to think about, that a B movie about a werewolf got made, and then a sequel got made, and they're both in theaters, which is like unheard of for Saskatchewan, or for Canadian filmmaking. So there's that, and it's a great film. Like, if you love blood, gore, werewolves, action, violence, sex, then go to this.
And wolves.
And wolves, that's too. Yeah, and some cars and some hockey. It's a Christmas movie, so there's lots of cool stuff in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So before I let you go, and we sit back after and finish up this scotch and stuff, I want to test your quote knowledge, because I incorporate quotes as much as I can in my daily life. It's most of the conversations I have. And much like your, sound effects and everything, most people can't understand what I'm saying unless they know the movie.
Yep.
That's going. So, 1 minute flash challenge. I've got my timer there.
Okay.
And I'm just going to fire off quotes, and you're going to answer them.
I answer them, or I have to say what
you say
movie
what movie it's from. Yeah.
Not who says it, though?
Not who says it.
Okay.
Just very simple. Some of these might be obscure, some of these not.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1. Sweep the leg.
Karate Kid?
Karate Kid.
Holy shit. I can't believe I got that.
Smoking.
The Mask.
Funny like how? Like like a clown? Like I amuse you?
Dark Knight.
Ooh. Hooah.
Jarhead? They must say that in Jarhead.
Royale with cheese.
That is Pulp Fiction.
Hansel. He's so hot right now. Hansel.
Zoolander.
Claudia Schiffer. We salute you. Sha-wing.
Yeah, Wayne's World.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Jaws.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Casablanca? No, Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind picks it up. What's in the box?
7.
7. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Babe.
And like that, he's gone.
Usual Suspects. Shit, I
Nailed
can't
it.
believe I got one wrong, though. Fuck. What was
Activity completed. So, where did we go through? I had a bunch here written
Give me
down.
the other one again. It was...
Scent of a Woman. Goodfellas was funny like a clown, like I amuse you. That was Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Hooah was Scent of a Woman.
Okay.
And I believe that was the only one you didn't get. And you brought it back with Gone with the Wind.
Damn it.
Not bad at all. Sweet. And I just had to finish with The Usual Suspects because it's just the perfect way to just... Dude, I can't thank you enough for coming.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Check out WolfCop. Find it wherever you can. Don't pirate it. Pay for the thing. There's been a lot of effort put into it.
Yep.
And you've got to support movies like this so you can keep getting them because everyone complains that, oh, superhero fatigue. Well, this is how you don't get superhero fatigue. Thanks again. Anything else you want to plug?
Watch Krampus again. It's a great holiday movie.
And it's out. It came out 2 years ago today. The celebration starts now.
Oh, and check out the special features because they're awesome.
And you'll find this guy on there. I'm G with my special guest, Emersen, and we are out.